managing and still do manage the Durruti column, which is the guitarist Vinnie Riley. A friend of mine was managing a group called Joy Division. I had some friends from Sheffield called Cabaret Voltaire, and we knew a comedian. And we decided to do a double 7-inch EP, which was the first commercial double 7-inch EP since Magical Mystery Tour, and that was our first release. With the John Dowie, the comedian, Cabaret Voltaire from Sheffield, Joy Division, and my own group, the Durruti column. That was our first release.
To begin with, Factory's the only label that would have been interested in me in the first place. There was no other record label in 1978 would have touched me with a barge pole. I mean, the stuff I was doing was just so completely different to the stuff that was required, and the stuff that sold. So it's always been the case that Factory's probably the only label that I could survive on. In the early days, it was very, very hit and miss, and it was, I mean, Tony and Alan and Rob Gretton, the manager of Joy Division, they were like mavericks, and they were booking the system, and basically taking the mickey out of making fun of the record industry and playing games. I would say that the whole thing was like a game to them, like an adult game.
Before we opened our own club, the Hacienda, we kind of, in fact, before we even had a record label, I wanted somewhere for Vinnie, my guitarist, to play, and we were bored by the clubs in Manchester. This was in '78. We borrowed a club in Hume, which was a black club, borrowed it on a Friday night, called it The Factory. Had nothing to do with Andy Warhol, because one of my partners saw a sign on the wall saying Factory Clearance. Called it The Factory, and it became a very successful, the most successful post-punk venue in this city. That's through '78, '79. I first saw Joy Division as Warsaw, maybe early '77, mid '77, at the Electric Circus, which was the punk club in Manchester where the Pistols played and the Clash and everybody. And I thought they were a pile of noise and an extremely interesting lead singer.
This guy that we used to see at all the gigs, he had a green combat jacket with hate on the back, which I thought was very interesting, having hate on your back, instead of on your mind, I suppose. And it was Ian. And because we used to see him all the time, we just got talking, found out he was in a group. And it was just like a common, that was your common ground. So when we started the two groups, he had a vocalist, he was a vocalist with a guitarist. We were a guitarist with a bass player, both after drummers. And we couldn't join because both had guitar. So we let that go on for a bit, and we advertised for singers. And we got a drummer who was a real turkey, and he's still with us. Only joking, Steve. We got this. We went through a succession of drummers, and then what happened was Ian's band split up. We met him again at a gig, and he just said, "Oh, my band split up." Said, "Oh, well, that's it. You can be our vocalist."
Thanks to the radio. Thanks to the radio. Oh, I was called out when the going gets down. Baby, you burn out, the rocker is down. So now it's just out, going it low. The singers I love to, the beat of the show. And we should die.
He wasn't a depressive person at all. He was a really up, happy-go-lucky person, and he was a real laugh, and he liked a good time. And we just did it just to have a laugh, you know. But we took the music extremely seriously. You know, we all loved music. That was very important to us. But Ian was no means a depressive person, as a lot of people think from his music. It's just that after we've been going for about 3 years, we played at the Hope and Anchor in London, and he'd been fine up until that point. Then on the way back, he just had a fit in the car. He had an epileptic fit in the car. He'd never had one in his life before. He was only like 22 or something. And we took him to hospital and said, yeah, he's had an epileptic fit. And after that, he just got it really bad, and he started getting it more and more. Apparently, you're either born with it or you get it in your very early 20s. And the doctors just, the cure for it at that time was just to dose someone up with barbs. So he was on really heavy barbiturates all the time, and that just changed his whole personality, really. But there was nothing we could do about it, nothing.
And then when he got ill, obviously we realised he was ill, but it's just because you were young yourselves, youth like that, you don't give a monkey. And you tell me to let him look after himself, really, which is a shame. Thing you learnt by age was that sometimes people do need looking after. But unfortunately we were all too young at the time to be like that, so you lost him.
It's most people's perception that Hamlet is heavy and gloomy. In fact, Hamlet is an enormously exciting play. Joy Division were enormously exciting to watch, even to listen to. It's exciting. So I've never really understood that. I can understand that there is a romantic melancholy, there is sometimes a deep seriousness or whatever within there. I never find that boring or gloomy. I find that exciting and gripping.
We always felt that you should write songs about something important rather than something trivial. Because we were that type of band. We weren't a pop band.
Factory had a sound when Martin Hannett was its producer. Martin Hannett's snare sound was one of those things that producers do every year and a half. There's one producer somewhere in the world who changes the way pop music sounds. And Martin Hannett, the late Martin Hannett, did that. The only area of music I've ever liked, I've always liked fresh stuff. The Beatles when it was fresh, or the whole rock period. I went up to university in 1968, child of the revolution, and punk. Always, it's that part of music that excites me. When it's new, when it's fresh, when people haven't heard it before, which is usually a bit tough because usually they don't like it, because people only like what they've heard before. So it's working the difficult end of the business.
We decided that if one member of the band never left, that we would change the name anyway, But the actual name came from Rob. He read it in a book about, was it Prince Sihanouk of Cambodia? He was reading a book about that, and he got it out of that.
Joy Division were flirting with it anyway, very early on, with synths and drum machines and stuff, and also like songs like Isolation, a very, what you'd call sort of disco.
Heading that way.
It wasn't difficult at all. It was quite natural
it was
at
just
the time.
Hard sorting out the singing angle, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was through like Steve and Bernard being very, very interested in technology, and what that technology did was gave you the freedom to make records like that.
I think that the way Factory has built its relationship up with bands has been a series of accidents and coincidences and things. There's been nothing really terribly planned, I don't think. Although Tony would probably disagree and say he had a great master plan right from the start, but I don't think there was one. I think there was an overall philosophy, but that's about all.
My Upsum song, my easy way out, and the way we end Palatine, I've been criticised for it. You know, we're aware of the future, we live in the future, and yet I put a very old song at the very end, which is Atmosphere by Joy Division. There is something so transcendental about that track. I always say that being the guy who signed the check to pay for the labels on that record is one of the great privileges of my life. Being in any way involved with a piece of work like that, I find very difficult still to come to terms with. So Atmosphere is my easy way out.